What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some exciting topics that we're going to discuss today. We're going to continue from the topics that we had last week. Also, some new topics that we're going to bring into play in this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring out the lovely, the beautiful Miss Ida B.
Hey, everybody. Yay. I look like, you know how you look around? I remember the first time I learned this, and I was walking around with my underwears on my coat. I think my executive tried to give me a raise that year. He like, Ida, you know, we can see all. I said, you can see all back here. He said, yeah, you have a nice house. I said, y'all, these raises been paying off. Well, how you doing?
I am excellent. I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm funny. I got me some Invisalign.
Really?
Now, I have very straight teeth and very white teeth because God knew He was going to make me short, so He had to give me something. All my family said, "So your teeth need to be whiter and straight." I had one teeth that was in a play called "I Fly Away." You know how you have one teeth that say, "I'm just going over there. You coming with me?" And so it allowed me to develop like a slight underbite. I only have to wear them for about 4 months. But it had been very fun. I have newfound respect. I didn't know I snacked that much. You know, every time you put them in and out your mouth, you got it. Every time you eat or something, you got it. I didn't realize I snacked that much. And I didn't realize I chewed gum until I can't chew it for 4 months. So I'd be like,
oh, wow. I would die if I couldn't chew gum. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you realize we can talk about that stuff later.
That's my comfort. Well, luckily, God blessed me with straight teeth, and I never had to have braces or anything like that. So I'm just.
Oh my God, you have a natural straight. I thought you had braces. People say you ever wore braces, and so like you said, we take for granted something that people go and pay thousands of dollars for, or go to foreign countries. So it is. I think a lot of people, because your face, your teeth is the first introduction people have. And it can make you look younger, older. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I like these little rock wild. I call these my German Shepherd teeth.
Those are your German
I had to get one teeth. I thought that man was going to go across the room. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I said, these things are in here, ain't they?
You're so special. Mark, are you joining us today, or you go sit out, or what we doing, Mark?
I'm definitely going to join. I love joining y'all ladies. And all got the new haircut, and so I got to pop in and see the ladies with the new haircut with the other barbershop.
Loving the haircut.
Okay. You shaved, Mark. You
had to get shot.
Last week you had like a bush, Mark. You had a bush.
Yeah, to do the whole Santa Claus thing, but I was like, nah, this is not gonna work. Not in the middle of the spring, which in North Carolina can almost feel like summer. You know that idea and everything.
Yes,
so I was like, time for the trim. So I have to go take care of some things. So I just see the barber and said, hey, you got to do something about this.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I have a few things. I didn't post the things to this week that we're going to talk about, but it's just going to be some stuff that's coming off not really coming off the top of my head, but we're going to talk about it. I mentioned last week that we would talk about Meghan and Harry and their invite to the new king's coronation, and I would like to discuss that for a second. And we're also going to discuss the Budweiser commercial and the Republicans losing their mind over the trans woman. And then we can also talk about the videos that's going around about the trans women being in competition with natural women. So I want to discuss that as well.
Sounds like some great topics all in that space. So that'll be fun, and we know that a lot of people are paying attention to those roles. But we got our own roles, because I understand one of them roles might be running for president and all in that space, because we have the Bush clan that can be considered royals because they got all them Bushes running and all in that space. And another clan that has been part of the American royalty is the Kennedys, and apparently Kennedy said he's going to jump into the whole White House race. He's like, I'm going to go up there and go against Biden and all in that space. And I'm
Oh.
like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to like derail the Democratic Party? But apparently he's thinking strongly. And I think he's already put his exploration committee together. And then I heard that one of the
Mhm.
black Republicans is also exploring, even though he's got about as much chance of winning as hell freezing over. I'll just be blunt in the whole thing because I don't think
I
Tim
mean, but
Scott has a chance of winning.
well, they
Mhm.
like black Republicans because black Republicans tend to vote against their own people in their own best interest. So they always side with the racists and the Republicans. So I don't see any issue there unless he's just flat out railroaded or something like they did Andrew Cullum back when he was running against DeSantis or whatever. So. Mhm.
We'll see.
Yes, we're gonna see. All
Mhm.
right, so let's jump into these hot topics. Okay, so Meghan Markle and Prince Harry received a invitation from the palace for the king's coronation. So it has been stated that Prince Harry will travel to the coronation by himself, and Meghan will stay home with the children because Prince Archie's birthday is on May 6th, day after mine, and Princess Lilibeth, who is what 2 years old, so she's gonna stay home with the children. Um, but I mean, I don't have a problem with Megan ditching on the Royals or whatever because of
Mhm.
the way that she was treated, and the way that she's still being treated. Some people look at it as if she's snubbing them, but my thing is, you're quick to condemn racism in sports and racism in this and racism in that, but you never condemned it in your own household, and you never called out your people. So I'm 100% behind her with not going and not showing face and things like that or whatever. But at the same time, if she would have shown up, the media attention to me would have totally been on her and Harry, and instead of what they were there for.
Mhm.
So what do you think?
Well, I think it's a Kodak moment, like you said, a Kodak moment. I think at this point, um, them separating themselves from the royal clan. When you think of clan, I think of those other K's, so it's hard for me to say those words. The Ku Klux Klan. I was telling you, I got Invisalign, so now I have a slight lisp. I only have to wear these things for 4 months, so
Mm-hmm.
um, I think, when people thought of England, when people think of racism, they think of America and Africa. When they think of divisive countries, England have always played the British, and they always played themselves. It's such a good, clean
Mm-hmm.
culture. So when she started bringing to front where her now deceased mother-in-law, she didn't bring Princess Diana talk about the other cultural norms of being a royal. And to be quite honest, people was very surprised. I have a couple of friends that are from England and different stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about them being racist or anything until she came in. I thought she had the complexion with the connection because she was just bright enough that even in the black community, and to see how that played out. um, and I think if she hadn't, Princess, who was the other one? Princess Grace years ago, when she came, I think she came from poverty. Princess Diana, they needed her to be, I think they needed her to marry Charles because he was messing around with his girlfriend, who's now his wife. And I think when Megan came up, I think they thought she was going to play nice in the sandbox, and she was really surprised. They were really surprised. She was hurt how the media, which as American, she thought the paparazzi was going to love her. And I think she was really surprised. Now, have she maximized and made millions of dollars on a Netflix, Oprah Winfrey? But I know at the end of the day, she wasn't welcome. She wasn't, and I'm glad she had the kids. I think it would have been uh, 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 just a whole Dookie show if she showed up, because they're still looking now.
But Ida, hold on a second. I gotta ask you something. We're talking about Princess Diana. We're talking about the royal family. We're talking about all of this aspect. As I recall that history, and speaking of birthdays, I think Princess Diana was a fellow Cancer. For those that want to believe in astrology, and was born around July. I think she might have been like the 4th of July, and I'm the
Uh-huh.
first and all in that space. But as I recall, after she broke up with Charles, didn't she get involved with a brother from like the Middle East and stuff like that, and that was part of the whole conversation around even her dating life after she got out of the relationship
Mm-hmm.
with Charles. So, as I
Mm-hmm.
recall, he was part of what was going on even as she was killed on that fateful day. All
Mm-hmm.
in that. Some people say
Mm-hmm.
it was even a planned assassination, but who knows about those kind of aspects of what goes on in the royal family or even in our own political
Mm-hmm.
spheres and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
definitely, with that racism thing is not new to me in London and stuff along those lines because they've had some issues around racism even in London and in other parts of Europe that they are still dealing with. So I don't know why
Of
people are
course.
shaking their head even with the Markel situation and all in that way. Last thing I'll
I mean,
bring
because
up
the
is
thing about it is, y'all, the problem is she's black. That's the problem. He could have
Right.
went got a trailer park, dust bucket. They would have been okay with her being a trailer park dust bucket because she's white. The issue is because Megan is black and she has a black mama, and they know that she has a black mama. That is the issue. None of this came about until they found out that she was black. When they found out that she was black, then that was the issue. Then all of this stuff, oh, she with them for the money. She had her own money. She was making her own money. Why couldn't
right.
she just fall in love? Why couldn't they just be two people that met? And he went after her. She didn't go
Right.
after him. He went after her after he saw her on social media and was like, who is that? You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
I said from the jump that he was gonna marry somebody black. But everybody looked at me crazy like I was cuckoo or something. But I said this years ago. I was like, he's not like the rest. He's gonna marry a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is she's black. And they can't wrap their heads around how can this man who is so prestigious, who's a prince, marry this woman who's they're basically saying she's nothing below him, that basically she's a peasant. How can he fall in love with her? And then she's black on top of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but what
Mm-hmm.
really took the cake was when they were talking about how dark his children was going to be.
Yeah, we've been talking
Mm-hmm.
about that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, because it just really baffles me how you quick to condemn somebody else, talking about, oh, you don't support racism this way and that
Mm-hmm.
way, but you doing the same dang on thing to your sister-in-law. I mean, it's quite evident, because he's not talking to his brother because of her. You're not talking to your brother because he's sticking up for his black wife. That's why you're not talking to your brother.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
the issue.
What wasn't it also the allegation that the N word had been talked
Mhm.
about with
Mhm.
the child, the
Mhm.
new what is the oldest child name?
Who?
Archie,
Archie?
Archie, and so I like that history became not history but real time, because usually later in life we find out about all this stuff in a history book, in
Mhm.
a tell-all book, and all of that. But she was really devastated how they played a key role in throwing her under the bus into because the media, the paparazzi over there is actually controlled by the royal family, and they
Mhm.
said they talked about the relationship. And we have the example over here with the Kardashian and TMZ. We know that
Mhm.
they have certain people that are on their payroll, and I think for her, even though she was an actress and she was not a naive young lady, but she was very surprised how they came for her. And then to find out that it was a cloak effort by her own family. You know what they always say, is always your family, is
Mhm.
always your family. And she'd been married before, and every bone that could have been drugged up about her was drugged up. Because like her, you see, her family is trailer. Her daddy and her sister-in-law have continued to try to monopolize on that.
Of
And I
course.
think, I think when we think of Queen of England, we have to talk about the African nation. When me as a Black American, I was very naive to England, but I had some of my African friends truly educate me on the relationship with the black colonized and all that. That just like when we talk about slavery. When I think of slavery, I think of African, but I have African friends that don't get slavery, which is odd to me. But then that's the same thing when I go and talk to one of my friends that is a Indian from the tribe, and I didn't understand why Washington Redskin was so offensive. So you got things that have culturally been going on all the way around the world that a lot of us have been very naive. I think when I was in the military and I went to Okinawa, Japan, my first duty station, I found out that they hated Americans, but they despised Black Americans. And I went to a nightclub, and all of the Koreans had afros on, and they was playing Motown music. And at some point they said that they were told that at 12 o'clock Black people turn into monkeys. And I was now you got this young girl just from the South trying to figure out life. Even though you're from the South, you experience racism in a way that you are just accustomed to it. But to experience racism outside of the United States, and they said they had been taught that by our white American that so when they met me, they thought I was from India because they envisioned a Black person having a plate in their mouth and a bone in the ear. And so I was 17 years old, horrified, but they would have protests when they would tell the Black Marines and the Black enlisted or officer, we could not go off base. We could not, they would have, and so when we hear these things, what I realized, the media protects a lot of things, doesn't filter out to the everyday American. Now that we got Elon Musk, who's a cuckoo for Cocoa Puff, but he said some very damning station comments about the federal government. And on some level, I think the American people globally, people have the right to know what is really going on in the world, even if we can't handle it. So that's my spin.
So I mean, yeah, but I always got some comeback.
The rant. I
No,
call
I'm
this
just
ranting Regina. Regina, come on, Regina, bring it, Regina.
look, girl. But I mean, my thing is, I don't even understand why. What baffles me the most is you have Black people who are over there that's living there, but you love these white folks. You love massa. You love your massa. You know what I'm saying? But they're playing you to the left to talk about Meghan and Harry, and they're playing you to the left to talk about her as a Black woman and things like that. They're getting you to say the things that they can't say without repercussions and consequences and things like that. And for the life of me, I don't understand why these countries that are have ties with England and the Queen and the throne, why don't you fight for your rights to to leave?
Hey, Joanna,
Yes.
Dr. Anthony, I
She
gotta
done
ask you
call her
something.
Tawana.
No, I'm sorry, Dr. Anthony, I
No,
gotta ask you
that's
something.
who you dealing
Yeah,
with.
no,
That's
no, that was
Tawana.
wrong. But
We
Dr.
Dr.
Anthony, I
A
gotta
was
ask you
at
something
6 o'clock.
serious.
Yes.
Go
I gotta
ahead.
ask you something really serious here because you talk about the white culture and all that's going on, and we're getting ready to get into the whole thing around the trans and all of that. But there are some very popular shows that are out there now, and when they do stuff, then everybody starts like not really making any big fuss about it, but it does show kind of the mindset of young people and all of that. And I stumbled across this clip. I want to share it with y'all, and we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. When I'm going to do a shared screen, but there's a conversation going on among our young folks about body count, and a body count is how many people you sleep with, and all in that space. And there is a very popular podcast that is out there called Whatever. It is literally called Whatever, and all in that space. And there was a young white woman, white blonde chick, and everything. And she basically said, look, that she had been with, I think it was 6 dudes a day, and like over a long period of time. And there was this whole conversation that went on about this. So I want to play the clip, and then I want to hear what you folks have to say about this, because this is white folks acted a little bit on the crazy side
Mark
themselves.
just took it all the way to the left.
So let's check this out.
Energy. Energy.
I don't like this term big energy or small energy because everyone's about body positivity, right? How are we going to talk about men who have desirable characteristics have big dicks and men who have undesirable characteristics have small penises? There are some wonderful men with small penises and some terrible men with big dicks. Women can willy-nilly throw out big dick energy, small dick energy. If I started throwing out loose pussy energy as a term to describe someone that was undesirable in some way, I would get canceled. But loose pussy energy, bro, you get in trouble. You say that shit.
There's other terms to use.
Cavernous vag energy.
Anyway.
Way.
And that's just one of the clips. I'm gonna try to find the other one where the woman literally was bragging on how many folks she had been with and all in that space. But are we allowing the social media to have all these crazy conversations like that one and all in that space? And like I said, I'm gonna try to find the one that I was originally looking for, which was this woman that was bragging on her body count. And like I said, she was one of those folks, and you got to watch the facial expression of the women that she is making her body count imagery and all in that space. As a matter of fact, I think I did find that
But I
one.
mean, but that just goes to show you how, men idolize these type of women or whatever, but they talk bad about black women and they want to say black women is this and black women is that. No, I'm talking about the black men who idolize, white women and who want those white women or whatever. White women are tend to become way more sexually active earlier than black women. Black women are taught to preserve themselves. White women are very promiscuous. Most of them are being sexually abused by their fathers in the first place in the home. And, so they become, sexually, out there or whatever. But that is what most of the men want, versus, what we provide and what we give. And, they have these long lists of, things about black women. Oh, I don't like black women because of this. I don't like black women because of that. I don't like black women because of this. Go on over there with your loose pussy white woman. That's what he said. I didn't. I'm just saying. That's what he said. I'm just reiterating what he said.
Well, okay. Well, when I think of the body, I think of the body shaming, positive movement, body positivity, and now you got the body count. We always had a body count. When you think of prostitutes and different things, but my mother will always say, you can't lay down with a bunch of men and be still called a woman. A man, we encourage that behavior. When you think about in our Black community, we're constantly encouraging our daughters to maintain their virginity. But like you said, it is a contrast. Coming back to once again slavery, when the white slave master would go and sleep with all of the Black women, impregnate, creating these multiracial children, and the white woman wanted what we call the mandingo, and so we think of Sally Hemingway. And when you think of I think Steve Harvey had something about he wrote this book, Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, and then his own daughter in his own backyard dispelled everything he was making millions off. Wait 90 days to have, and she had been now with you could tell when you have a body count, because what they said, give them back to the street. At the end of the day, people are going to have sex, but men do not want to believe that their woman or wives have had all of these sexual partners. They struggle with it. And women, when we're watching these shows later on, I think each generation have their own way of addressing this. When you think about Kim Kardashian, she has slept with all of these celebrities, millionaires, and she became famous intentionally making a sex video with Ray J. And he finally came out and said they intentionally made that. And they made 2 videos because she wanted to become famous. And so, and this is the thing about what is backlash and what is viral. In another time and era, because think about, people were making intentional sex tapes. Now you have OnlyFans. So people have a body count. People, I think I think about, when you think about how many sex partners have you had, and is it anybody's business? A man can brag about, I had this and this, and like you think of P. Diddy, you think of celebrities. It was a famous basketball player. Mark, you probably can help me. It was a famous basketball, Will Chamberlain. And he said he slept well over 1,000 women. Right. And but when you think about a woman, now I think about, I was born genetically as a woman, but when you go and talk to a gynecologist, she said, we not mean for all those dingalings. We not mean for all those dingalings. It comes as a price. Big dick, small dick, whatever. We make it cruel. But when you talk to a doctor, our body were not meant for that level of penetration long term. And when you got someone, then you have someone later on, 5 years later, these women that's bragging, they're now denouncing it because now they can't find a good husband because you don't said your body They got a black African, and she said that she slept with over 200 men and given people HIV. So these things come at a price.
And this is the clip that I was actually looking for. We won't have to play the whole thing because the whole thing is a
Okay.
little bit lengthy, but we can get the gist of what she's saying. But this is the clip that I was originally looking
Past
for.
Okay.
predicted my future, why would I relapse? Like that doesn't make any sense. People can change. People are we're human beings. We have issues. My ex also sold drugs in his past, but does that make him like a bad person today? No. People make mistakes. So I don't know.
Are you referencing the fact that you have a high body count?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's just my
People can change, but because of your high body count and your previous sexual addiction, that might be a reason or reasons why a man might want to disqualify you or preclude pursuing you
Right.
because of that.
And that's fine. That's their personal preference. But if you're going to use my past against me and say that, like I can no longer emotionally connect with a man because I've done this, this, and this with however many people, that's just not true. I feel like when I look at a man that I'm in love with to this day, I still feel, I just personal experience, I just don't feel that way.
But the thing is that, I mean, sure, that could be the case, but I mean, there's studies on this. CDC did the study on this. I mean, the more premarital sexual partners you've had, the greater likelihood of infidelity, the greater likelihood of reporting relationship dissatisfaction, the greater likelihood of divorce, greater likelihood of STD, greater likelihood of, let's see, what else? You have a more difficult time pair bonding. So,
right. So, but did they do that study with women that were consistently sleeping with multiple men, or did they do that study with women that like slept with like 50 dudes like 1 year and then they held off for like 2 years straight? Because I feel like the longer as time goes on, my body's kind of like reset itself. It's like I'm getting sober again. You know what I mean? I'm finally seeing with like a clearer head and not having to sexualize everybody all the time. Because I sexualized women just as much as I did men. Like it was always a competition thing, right? Because I was trying to have sex. So, but regardless, you know what I mean?
well, I don't know if this is, and then this just occurred to me, so I don't know if it's a perfect analogy, but you mentioned, well, what if, how
Afraid to open email attachments or make payments online.
Ads in between, but you get the gist of what was going on that
Yeah,
whole
so
thing.
she slept with a lot of men.
But also you go to a doctor, you say my cha-cha is loose, and they'll give you sex, vagina rejuvenation. And I love this young man. I watch his show. I like he just reeled him in. He'd be like, okay, vet this person, because in her natural mind, she made sense. There's no way in the world you're gonna bring. I have 11 brothers. My brother dated. He said, you remember the Belle Bill DeVoe, they made this song, That Girl Is Poison.
Yeah.
And they said, how you know? Because me and my crew used to do it. I don't know what the white folks do, but in the black community, you're not going to bring certain people around your family that people that went up in. Just like right now, everybody's afraid because the Freaknik documentary is getting ready to come out. Right. So glad I never went to Freaknik. I used to go to bike rally, and I was a bike rally girl. And I think now they say Freaknik is just the Essen Festival. And so you think about when you think about what people do, and this young lady, I always bring the biblical ties. And when you continue to lay with multiple peoples, you are creating soul ties with them. You're creating some type. We got people now that we have slept with, unless we're married, that when we think about good, bad. Oh, I would never do that person again, because our brain, and so this young lady who doesn't look over 30 have slept 50 or 150. Then she says she has a sex addiction. Ain't no way in the world your family is going to accept her unless you're going up in the mountain somewhere with it. You look like you sleep with your sister.
Well, I mean, but that goes back to cultural differences. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we come through the ranks, we call it playing the dozen. That's what we do in the South. So you already know if Tom, Dick, and Harry done ran up in it. Guess what's gonna be the topic of the discussion at the dinner table? Your sex like Tom, Dick, and Harry running up in it. So that's that's something that we do as blacks in within our culture. And like you said, you don't know what goes on in their culture, but in our culture, you already know it's gonna get handled and it's gonna get
Well,
talked
speaking
about.
of things that we don't know in our culture, I was actually in the clubhouse we were early today, and they brought up it was actually run by a young lady, sister from London, and all of that. And she brought up this next video that I'm going to bring up, which is a Target, and I did say Target, not Target, person that recently was upset at Target after she had spent like about $1,000 in merchandise, and she got to a whole complaint with the person at Target, I think it was in Kansas or something like that, and was demanding reparations. So she was saying that she wanted reparations in this particular space and all along those lines. So if you don't mind, I want to bring up this video and see what y'all got to say about Sister Girl, who's saying that this is her Rosa Parks moment. That is what it was actually quoted as, and all in that way. She said this was her Rosa Parks moment as she went up against Tarjay, and all in that kind of way. So let's check this out and see what y'all think about this incident.
Roll the clip.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh, the clip is not showing, and the volume's not playing either. Let's go and get the clip going, and let's see if we can get some volume going also.
But what did he hit her for, though?
She was making a complaint, and she was saying that
I understand, but I'm saying, why does he feel the need to put his hands on her?
good point. And that's what I was wondering, why you got to put the hands on her, why you got to call the law. And look how many law officers they called. They called in 3 officers and everything. And it was in Ohio. That's actually where the incident was. So why you got to bring this much force in here and all in that space? Now, I don't know that I would think, because that was the question they were asking was whether this is a common practice, because where they were at, the folks that were bringing this to my attention was in London, and they were saying that they don't have those kind of consumer or customer service moments the way we have them here in the States. And I found a hard time believing that, because I think that they have some incidences even in London. I've not done enough foreign travel, but y'all have got friends that have traveled in foreign places and everything. So do they have those same kind
They
of
do, because Oprah experienced it over there. They didn't want to sell Oprah a purse, you know. So she experienced. They have it over there. They try to, downsize and downplay it as if, we're the only ones that's receiving racism. That isn't accurate. They receive racism over there.
No, I definitely they do racism over there. I did have that video and the controversy. The other thing that I know you said we would get to, and this has been all over the news. The Republicans are loving the heck out of this, and this one we got in the old-fashioned version. So here's what's going on with Bud Light.
Oh, okay.
Today, Bud Light facing some backlash over its partnership with a trans influencer. Take a look. There's a video posted by Kid Rock that has more than 1 million views, hundreds of comments praising him for shooting at cases of Bud Light. Other videos posted online show people like dumping their Bud Light into trash bins and down sinks, even destroying cans of the beer. Why? Well, Bud Light had teamed up with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney during the NCAA's March Madness college basketball tournament. And while March Madness has officially wrapped up by now, it seems like the response to this partnership just seems to be getting more and more intense. Jay Valle, who's been following this story, is here with us now. Explain this. Explain the timeline here.
Well, after Dylan posted that, Hallie, thank you for having me, first of all. But, after Dylan posted this video, I mean, a lot of backlash came mostly from conservatives. And then when you have those individuals and with larger platforms like Kid Rock, you can imagine the conversation ignited even more. But Dylan Mulvaney is no stranger to the backlash from conservatives who, as she has 10 million followers on TikTok, and she's a trans woman who has documented her experience for over a year now. I assume now that Dylan received backlash on a daily basis, so she did not respond to our request for comment.
What are we hearing from Bud Light on this?
Yeah, Bud Light, the last 48 hours, as these videos have thousands of views, they did not ignore what conversations were being sparked. And Bud Light sent a statement, actually. Anheuser-Busch works with hundreds of influencers across their brands and as many ways to authentically connect with their audiences across various demographics is to partner with these influencers. So, as at this point, these videos, again, continuing to flow in, and that backlash is pretty intense there. As you know, that Kid Rock video has over 1 million views now.
Jay Valle, thank you very much for that breakdown. We'll read more about it, I know, in your postings for NBCnews.com. Your stories there. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow.
I don't have a problem with her, representing the brand or whatever. If you're going to drink beer, you're going to drink beer regardless of who represented it. But, that's this good old boy type, situation or whatever. So clearly they are up in arms about, a trans woman representing the brand and what they stand for. So clearly they have a problem with it.
Well, I think, once again, politics, when you think of Americans initially think America is all white. They think baseball, hot dogs, and Bud Light. I seen this running last week, and I couldn't make out what was really going on. And then I seen Joe Rogan, who is one of the biggest, and he was trying to offset because his audience is predominantly male white, and Kid Rock is just trying to stay relevant now. Because this had brought, once again, from a marketing point of view, this made her more viral, other than the Republicans, this rude whatever dressing up in trans. And so Bud Light, if I was on a marketing team, I said, now how far you want to take it? How far you want to take it? The backlash also required, because the LBG, I call them the alphabet community, because I can't remember what alphabet been added today. The reality, they are not to be played with. The Black culture one time had that impact, because you think of backlash and cancel culture. I really couldn't see what the big deal was. I was trying to, how you trying well, what's the big deal? Then I see Joe Rogan drinking a beer, and so clearly white men think Bud Light belongs to them, beer, and think beer belongs to them. And what it did, it brought more followers to that person, because you're thinking about it. Someone had to know in Bud, that corporation, that what did they think people need the LGBT community, and they need the Black community. We're the biggest consumer. We're the biggest social media phenomenon right now. So I'm not mad at this influence. I'm glad. I don't drink. I'm a Yingling beer drinking, and a Stella girl, and a Stripes.
Hey, maybe we need to be some influencers for Bud, and since we have our platform and all in that.
Send them my way. Shoot, I buy enough Bud Light. My mom drinks that beer, so I dang sure buy enough of it. But my thing is, they have already made the money off of you, idiots. You destroyed the that you have already purchased. You know what I'm saying? They already got their money. It's already sold. So
well, not only that, but where are most of the ABC stores? If I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong and everything, but are most of them in our neighborhoods? I know that there's one literally around the corner from what used to be the Black Wall Street, and there are a lot of those convenience stores. A lot of the stores that sell this particular brew are in our neighborhoods, as I recall, and everything. But if I'm wrong, please correct me and tell me I'm wrong, and tell me how I'm wrong in that space. I do know that one of the things that they did was they did the back roll, and apparently they did this earlier. So how did they respond? They came back with a very hyper American and red, black, and all the colors of American flag and all in that space. I started giving the ones for the African American flag in that space. But you know what I'm trying to say, our colors in America, and they give this very patriotic ad as their response to the backlash that they've received.
Let me tell you a story about a beer rooted in the heart of America, found in a community where a handshake is a sure contract. Brewed for those who found opportunity in challenge and hope in tomorrow. raised by generations, willing to sip, share, risk, remember. This is a story bigger than beer. This is the story of the American spirit.
So how do you counter? You come back with an ad that says, "We're as all American as you can be."
I mean, you know, it's just really funny how they pick and choose, you know, what they want to get upset over. You know what I'm saying? Y'all wasn't upset when y'all had what's his name? Caitlyn Jenner, but what's his real name?
Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner on you know, the magazine. You know what I'm saying? Talking about she was woman of the year. First of all, you ain't no woman. Second of all, you're cosplaying women because you still sleep with women and you only dress like a woman. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, y'all wasn't upset with that. So he could be on top of Sports Illustrated and all that stuff. But now a trans woman, a real trans woman, is, you know, partnering with Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, or whatever you want to call it. And now y'all upset? Man, get the fuck up out of here. Like, for real, though. Seriously.
I like I said, from marketing, I appreciate the controversial because if it can make us talk about it, it's news. And so it actually, you know, you got the Republicans who think they run the world and different stuff. So it made us realize, so Budweiser is a white man beer. Okay, and a straight white man beer, and you just and it shows us how we are married to our culture, our bigotry, our political views. So to me, I appreciate how Mark run that Bean footage because, like I said, I seen it running last week, and then they showed Joe Rogan trying to calm them down, and so they got their go-to people. Who was our go-to in the Black community? It used to be, ironically, Will Smith and Tyler Perry. You have Oprah Winfrey used to be our go-to. So when things are really offensive in certain community, they say, well, and you can't go wrong with the American, you know, the Clydesdale horse, because that's what you think of Budweiser, you think of the horse. Very well put together. But will I go and buy a 6-pack of Budweiser? I don't drink Budweiser.
No, but Ida, you actually raised an interesting question. I don't know the answer to it, but is there a true African American leader? Because you mentioned some names we all know, Martin and Malcolm, and definitely, you know, no matter what people's attitudes were, if there was an issue that was going on in that community, you would hear from the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons of the world. But I don't know that there is, and some of their cachet in terms of credibility is not as strong as it used to be, you know, all in that space. So is there a true representative African American leader? I mean, some would say Obama, but has Obama really stepped into that role in the full sense? And do we need one leader? And do we have a series of leaders? Because I don't think we need one. We probably need more.
Benjamin Crump.
You had the Breakfast Club. The Black community, when I think about the Black community, our greatest impact is continuing to be the entertainers and the athletes, LeBron James. And you have some people that just won't play. That's why we were so devastated how Kanye ended up acting cray-cray, and then we realized they want to act. You know, his school just got closed down last week. We had this shooting, you know, and it was on the paper, in the news. This 80-year-old white man shot that young Black boy for going to the wrong house to pick up his sibling. We will never stop the love and hate of Black and white America. It first of all, it's profitable. It's profitable to keep racism going on. It's profitable. It's called Republican and Democrat. It's profitable. So yeah, I think when you think of Ben Crump and, you know, we had Johnny Cochran. You used to have the state of Black America. You had Tavis Smiley. I just think, you know, not that the Black community is divided. I think George Floyd brought a lot of us together. But you think about the people who came before George, all the way back to slavery, Rosa Parks, Rodney King. So I think, unfortunately, Black people, sometimes we band together in our blood, in grief. And now you got so much going on, you can't, but I don't think like if we had to do damage control about something went on in the Black community, Obama is not going to let us use him. Point blank, count him out. LeBron James have been coming from, Jamie Foxx just had a stroke. So who is our go-to? Our go-to is our radio stations, now our podcast. The Breakfast Club used to be a force to be reckoned with. So was Wendy Williams show, even though people hate her or like her. And Roland Martin at times is a close fourth or fifth runner up for things. But I think the Black community now, this generation depends on TikTok and what goes viral. Who's right today,
And who's the trendy person at that particular day? I mean, they don't even study history enough, because one of the things that I heard, and I know that Dr. Anthony brought this up on a past show, was actually a TEDx talk that was from one of the members of the Navajo tribe, and he basically said that the Constitution is doing what the Constitution is supposed to do, because he was basically in his argument on his TEDx talk was saying that the Constitution was created by aristocratic white males and all in that space. So we should not be surprised that women make 70 cents to the dollar or whatever that statistic is. We shouldn't be surprised that Black and brown people are filling up the jail cells and some of the other injustices that are going on, because it was designed this way. It was designed this way intentionally and all in that space. And as I heard his presentation, we've actually been running here on the network a couple of times, I couldn't really argue with the point he was making, which is that we have to know the history. And even something you alluded to earlier, Ida, is the history even with the trade. Because one of the things I heard about, and I'd love to hear what y'all's thoughts about this, is there's an African country that is going out there and is about to send, I think, 500,000 women to Saudi Arabia, which was part of the slave trade, to work in the domestic space. I'm a little bit worried about them going into that environment from a standpoint of rights of women, because that is not a culture that is strong on the support of women. And you're going to send 500,000 of your Ethiopian citizens there to work in an environment that they probably don't know all that well and don't know the rules of that well either. But what are your thoughts? Because that was on that same clubhouse room that I heard of this. And I'm going like, this sounds eerily like some of the stuff that goes on with human trafficking and with some of our Mexican brothers and even some of our fellow brothers and sisters in our own society. But what are you two ladies' thoughts about that? And is that something we need to be concerned about also?
Go ahead, Audrey.
No, you go ahead. Go, Regina. Go, Tiwanna. I know you got it. I know you got it. You go ahead.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's hard to compare apples to oranges and things like that or whatever, because the brothers and sisters from Africa, they just don't understand our plight. They don't understand our turmoil. They don't understand the struggle that we have gone through. I saw a post the other day where one young lady was from Haiti, if I'm not mistaken, and she said that her parents were from there and they were, Haiti immigrants, and they didn't come to America to fight the battle of Black people here in America. So, my thing with that is, if the Black people in America didn't fight those battles, your ass wouldn't even be allowed in this damn country. Let's just start there. You know what I'm saying? Nobody asked you to come over here and fight our battles. We're already battling, fighting our battles. But the thing about it is, once we fought those battles and we won, you benefit. So how the hell do you think you come over here as a Haitian immigrant and get a job and benefit from the things that we have done and the things that we have, set forth in those precedents and things like that or whatever? Say they just don't understand and they just don't get it. And so she was basically saying that, she's basically siding with the white people or whatever, because she doesn't understand that how her Blackness is going to affect us in America. But she doesn't understand that our Blackness is what protected her Blackness by coming over here. So, for me, I do have a problem with, immigrants coming into the country and taking that stance, because without us going through what we have gone through, you wouldn't even be able to come in this country and enjoy the luxuries that we have put forth and we are still putting forth for you to be able to enjoy.
But Dr. Anthony, there's a flip side to that, and this is why I'm going to kind of go counter, and I'd love to hear what Ida's got to say about this, because I know she's educated as well, because there was a movement of revolutions around the country when colonialism was going on, and one of the main leaders of that was the country of Haiti. So that actually inspired a lot of folks to actually revolt against the European slave masters, and that was
motivating
other folks.
Toussaint Louverture was his actual name that led
Right.
the revolt. But what she failed to realize is she doesn't even understand her own history and why Haiti is a poor country, because when they killed all those Frenchmen and hung their heads and stuck their heads on poles like pygmies and things like that, they made a pact that they would never deliver aid to Haiti. And so that's why one of the reasons why it's so poor and that they don't receive the wealth and the things that the other countries receive was because of that revolt. So my thing is, again, like Ida says, you have to understand your own history before you come over here trying to dictate to somebody else about their history. So she doesn't even understand her own history and why her country is so poor and why her country will continue to be poor. So they have to understand where they come from. They have to understand their plight before they come over here talking about our plight and what we are going through, because it's known that Black Americans don't know their lineage. They don't know their roots outside of our people being born in the U.S. That's no secret. But we have our own culture. We created our own culture, and you come over here and you benefit from our culture. You come over here and benefit from the things that we put forth in the world. Black Americans created, words that are in the dictionary. Black Americans set tones and set precedents. Black Americans did all of this stuff that, all these immigrants, not only Black immigrants, African immigrants, but European immigrants and other immigrants are actually benefiting from. Ann Coulter said it best. You don't get to come over here and dictate to Black people about Black culture. You just don't get to do that.
No, I definitely can see that. But like I said, I do remember that even when Haiti was created as an independent country, the second independent country right after the United States, they were actually encouraging some of us to go over there. And they were saying, if you can get over here, you can even have some land and some property and other
I
things.
can't live nowhere except the United States because my ass too crazy.
So you couldn't survive in some of these other countries?
I'm too radical.
Regina could not leave the U.S.
I cannot leave the U.S.
Yes. And like I said, when I think of what you, Regina was saying, because I call this personality Regina, I think I like how you reiterate, she understand, you kept weaving the word understand. And so, when you think of understanding, you think of knowledge and you think of ignorance. I think sometimes people choose to say, well, if I choose to maintain a level of ignorance, that keeps me off the hook for accountability and change. And so I recently had one of my friends who travel and been here now, and she became a U.S. citizen. And but then I said to her, but you still eat culturally all of your foods, you wear your cultural thing. And when I think people think about America, they think about capital gain, freedom and stuff, but they don't think about the freedom. See, as a veteran, people are very comfortable saying thank you for your service as a veteran, but they don't want it to say thank you for being Black. So I realize certain people can get that narrative of when I would say you only have the right to do that because I've served the United States, so I have given you the right to be here. But if I was to say that as a Black woman, not being in a uniform or expressing where I've came from, then the person gets in, I'm not here for that. I have no obligation. But the reality, we are our brother keeper in the Black community. We are our brother's keeper, even then when our brothers don't know they need to be kept, that someone do need to look at it. Because when Obama came, you had moments globally in America that brought everybody together. Obama is up there with McDonald's and Michael Jackson, and you have people that culturally everybody knew who he was. And he did make strides, and it's not, but this is still talking about politics. But I have seen people just don't want to know. People don't. You remember years ago when the young lady, she was on The View and she got booted off because she wanted to Raven Simone, and she wanted to be known by everything but a Black woman. And you had that white panelist of white women looking at her like very odd, to the point because they would never denounce where they're from. They would not only would they say it, they would add to it. They would say, I'm an Irish, or I'm such and such from this certain culture. But we have been taught sometime in our own backyard. Um, Years ago they had that "My Black is Beautiful" movement, and you got the Black Panther. But when you get and start talking about the everyday Black American, sometimes they just don't. They're not vested. It can be very disheartening. You will have someone claim another nationality, but they look like a Black person in front of the white TV, and and so I think it's a difficult I think it's a difficult burden to carry, to be your brother's keeper, because if people had not made leeway, we would not be able to have the liberty and the freedom to say what we want without it being a backlash. These conversations we had, we know if we was in Russia, it'd be blocked. We was in Africa, it would be blocked. We were in Cuba, it would be blocked. But these are not sexy conversation. They don't tantalize people. It really makes you sit back and reflect on who you are. Like I always tell people, I'm a Black woman who was born in America. And when we don't reconcile that, we create problems with ourselves. But I had one of my friends, she was, what is that one? Balenciago, and she had some. I said, do you know what is connected? Oh, I don't care. And so when you get and you try to backdoor and educate Black, young and old, ironically, I know you struggle more with educating the older Blacks than the younger, because they have this seed of, oh, I don't owe anybody anything, blah, blah, blah. But when you talk to the young generation, they call it being woke. But we coined that expression years ago. And so I think we do need to continue to have these discussions. I think sometimes people don't know how to have a debate while walking away angry.
Dr. Anthony, I just came up with a great idea and everything, since you said that you could not live in another country and everything along those lines. I'm going to see if I can bring out Regina one last time before we start the show or end the show and all that space. But how about we get you to go and become a member of the royal family? So we're going to have you join the royal family there in London, and you can have your own kind of moments of royalty. So I'm thinking that maybe you go to join.
Look at here. If they're having problems with Meghan Markle, you know damn well they're gonna have problems with me, because I'm gonna tell them up, down, sideways, and twisted how racist they are and how fast that they can go to hell and how fast I'm gonna send them there. So that definitely.
So what should we call her? Duchess Regina? Should we rename her the Duchess of?
Don't play with me.
The Duchess of DMV. She has no play. She's
don't play with me. I don't have no play. We cut a little different coming from the South. We cut a little different coming from the booth. You know what I'm saying? What you say? I said what I said. So
and we have done a very great job of dispelling the angry Black woman. Because I think the angry Black woman. Did you see when you talk about the Karens and different stuff? I think we as Black women, we're very conscious that we are our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper, and we understand the burden. But I think sometimes you have a hard time passing the torch on, because these conversations are not sexy. They're very painful. We go around and you say, have I made any leeway? I think last week, some of my nieces and nephews, they pledged. I think last week was pledging a lot of fraternities, and it was, I never really got into that, but I can appreciate it. But then we see
this is part of the problem that we played into their narrative, because part of what we do is we have our little princesses and our courts and all of this stuff where we're basically trying to create our own version of royalty, and that's definitely what goes on in some of our social organizations, whether that's
I'm definitely royalty. I'm just
Jack and Jill's and a number of others. So then we kind of play into the narrative that we think that we want to make our
I'm definitely royalty. I'm just not that type of royalty, that British, Londonish, what Tyler Perry said, that stuff that's over there. I'm just not that type of royalty. You know what I'm saying? I'm Black American royalty. It's a difference.
You remember what Holly Berry and them made that movie, Bats, Black American Princes, and I think we are born and created to be a part of something. We desire to be a part of some organism, and Black Americans Blacks, we still want to be part of the American dream, and we're constantly being rejected, but we don't know how to create our own American dream that people, because we see the Black culture gathered, because people culturally come into our community, take what they need, and they go out and become
They
successful.
capitalize on it.
But yet we give away the family recipe when they go and patent it. So we do have an obligation to understand wealth. The most important thing you can be as a Black American is know your power of voting and know your bank account. Those are two of the derivatives that drives the world. And I just played the Republicans plays off it where, I love the playbook of, I see someone, they playing that to the end. But behind closed doors, that might not be who they are. Go, Mark. I see you nodding.
You're muted.
Because I knew we were getting ready to wind down, and we were actually almost over, but we go over a few more minutes and everything. But there was another video, and I'm gonna try to bring it for the next week's show. But there was a gentleman, a brother, that got in trouble and got a lot of flack because he was doing something that I thought was actually noble. I want to say that his son is like 9, 10, or 11, but definitely a young son and everything. And he was teaching the son how to drive a semi. So it seems to me that would be a great thing. But there was a lot of people that were giving him flack because they were like, it's too early. He's losing his childhood and all in that space. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is a skill set that he can learn. That the dad was there with him, training him on how to drive.
Well, he needs to learn how to drive. He needs to do all that because they teach their children. Well, is it a problem when y'all running around? I'm talking about to the white people. Is it a problem when y'all running around teaching y'all children how to fire AR-15 semi-automatic rifles? It's not a problem then. So why is it a problem when this Black man teaching his son how to drive a semi? And I mean, in the South, we start driving early. I used to let my son drive at 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. He was driving by himself. So where's the problem?
But we have shamed people out of having a technical skill. Welders, plumbers, electrician. I was just talking to someone. He dropped out the high school. He dropped out of college and went to Job Corps and became a welder. So he came to my house to weld. We in the Black community, we were successful because we could work from the land, we could work in the office, we had the ability to do, and then we had a percentage that would go off to college. We had a percentage that would join the military, but the average Black American back in the 60s and 70s, they was the most jack of all trades. They can do whatever. And so when we begin to interface with white community, the white community really was in awe how we took slavery and made it something better than that. But we have diluted the water between each generation. You have people, that, like I said, we were the inventor of most of everything in America because we had to. We couldn't afford things. And so we were, think about Black people didn't go to the hospital unless we were dying or having a baby, because we would go to the garden. We knew how to help heal our body and do things. But now we've been told everything that our grandmother and great mother, now we're shunning. And we haven't, sometimes it's amazing to watch another culture steal what you have been passed on to you, but you had a very disregard of it. You had just like the Black family was known for family reunion. That was one of our cultural things that we needed to have. My father just passed away. His sister passed away last week. 23 kids. And when you think about that generation now is gone, and now it's up to us to pass that on. And we learned that through obituary. It's amazing. You could go to a funeral and find more about your life through a paper about a dead person. So I think we have to begin to engage this generation, and we got to get the old generation. We got to find a way that we can level it out or become a vessel to help the Black community continue to understand the power of voting, because that's where we're losing in great numbers. And we got to understand the power of money, not just generational wealth. Get an LLC for $50. You have something that someone will pay you for.
And we've also got to know our history, like you were just alluding to. A lot of us don't know that history. We don't understand the history, and we're not proud of the history that we've got. And a lot of us have tremendous history that is out there, but we don't even highlight that history even within our community, and some of the great inventions that were done, as well as some of the great communities, oftentimes unfortunately destroyed, and sometimes destroyed from within. Because I think about some of the great forms of music, and there's Dr. Anthony knows I am a fan of both blues and jazz, two forms of music that definitely came out of our rich history. But if you go to a show who is mostly watching it, then that's because we have discounted that part of our history and see that is that old folks music that we don't really want to identify with, even though some of our own musicians and definitely a bunch of their musicians are being influenced by those sounds, and that we need to recognize that. Even some of the hip hop artists are aware of that history, and hip hop is getting ready, but it's on its 50th birthday. That's this year, its 50th birthday, and people are saying that, you know, when it first came out, it was not going to last, and it's already lasted half a century, and will probably be here another several centuries and all in that space. But we don't think about that narrative as much as we should. But that's just my thought.
Well, you know, Monique, what I think what is bad, we don't give props where props is due. When you listen to the music of the day, they are sampling music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they don't even recognize you are sampling someone else's music. And you're becoming famous for it. Monique, which you know, that's my girl. She's now suing some more network for running her show, Moesha, without running me my check. So, you know, I think, you know, Monique is a force to be reckoned with. I have my ups and downs about her, but she keeps bringing the spotlight to things that have to be done. I think one of the things in the Black community rules are we always take the higher road about things that we should take to court and deal with. And so now I think we have created a burden for the next generation because we don't know how to fight for ourselves. And we
the other thing that we do is sometimes we only tell part of the story, because I am planning to go see this amazing movie, and maybe we'll talk about this on next week as well. I have not seen it, but some friends of mine, including some white friends, have gone to see it, and they say that it is an amazing movie about the deal between Nike and Michael Jordan, but they also say that it only covers part of the Michael Jordan narrative because Michael was in charge of what was going on, and he was not going to talk about the gambling part of his life and some of the things that were going on, even with his dad, and even started in basketball late in life, because that isn't the sunny and rosy side of the narrative. So this is the business side and the sunny side of the narrative, and apparently it's getting great reviews and people are very excited about it. But
I'm going to check them on Netflix.
Where's the plane on Hulu? Where's the plane?
I said I'm gonna wait till it come on Netflix. It's at the movie theater.
Right, the movie theater right now.
I'm gonna wait. It'll be on Netflix in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna wait till it come on Netflix.
Michael Jordan have done a very good job of managing his brand. Every now and then you give some insight. I think he's a very fascinating creature. I love how LeBron James have continued to move on. I hate that Kobe Bryant, his legacy was really ready to take off. And you have some people that know the assignment, willing to participate in the assignment. And I think we are brothers keep. I think when we get to a certain platform financially or social, we do have an obligation to give something back. So
wait, Ida, you mean we don't have an obligation to sell out our community the way that we did in some Black Wall Streets and certain other places where there were some of our own elite that decided that their checkbook in their personal home was more important than the bigger picture, and that became an issue?
Oh, quite naturally. Quite naturally. Yeah, I know we're over time, and we're going to have to table this until next week. And there was a couple of things that we didn't get an opportunity to discuss, and I definitely want to discuss that next week. And Mark will continue with the topic that you were going to bring up. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another great episode of The All Around. Make sure you click like and share. And with that being said, the clock on the wall says that's all, y'all. So we'll see you next Monday.
See you next
Monday, everybody. Peace out.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.